regarding a declaration to the California State Legislature supporting the withdrawal of Siskiyou County from the state of California. Up first, just by random, Ms. Bowen. Next will be Mr. Baird. 3 minutes.
Thank you, Liz Bowen from Callahan, California.
Open mic closer to you.
I do need the microphone. Okey doke. We hope that you will approve this. We realize it is not a resolution, it is not an ordinance, but we do appreciate the County Board of Supervisors knowing that our economy is really poor here. We're having a terrible time for a lot of reasons, and the biggest reason is because there are over-regulations, and as well as the over-regulations, we feel that our elected officials do not have an equal voice in Sacramento. And I encourage you to vote for this declaration. Thank you very much.
Mr. Baird. Up next will be after that will be Dr. Gearman.
Mark Beard, thank you for having me today, and thank you for entertaining this declaration. I'm here to ask for your support and your affirmative vote. When I was in school, my mother made me take a typing class, and we sat there grinding away the same phrase all day long. Now is the time for all good men to come to the aid of their country. I never gave that phrase a thought. Even when I was in Vietnam, I never gave it a thought. I just wondered whether I was going to get to eat today or tomorrow, or whether I'd live to see another day. When I was a military contractor, and I still am, flying airplanes in Bosnia and Somalia and Central African Republic and Afghanistan, a pattern started to emerge. And that pattern is that regional governance from far away, by people who are appointed, not elected, begins to lose meaning to the people who are affected by that government. And that's a situation that basically we face here today. I've spoken to hundreds and listened to hundreds of people in this county and other counties regarding this declaration. And a common theme is emerging. It's going to be hard, but we have to try to do this. For our lives to change for the better, we've got to give this a try. It's a long shot, it's an uphill battle. I realize the only thing you can do is pass this declaration. We'll take it from there. But the people to govern our state and our county are you people. We have to have government that's local, that understands our issues, that has empathy for the people involved and the people affected by these policies. Regional governance from places that are far, far away, for example, the North Coast Board constantly has meetings in Santa Rosa, and those meetings directly affect incomes and outcomes on residents in Siskiyou County and other rural California counties. This dynamic we must change. The ongoing problems faced by rural Californians must change, and the legislation issuing from Sacramento at an apocalyptic rate seems to add to our burden. SB 1, where an unelected board will be able to declare properties inefficient and cause redlining of loan companies so that those people cannot get loans on properties that are declared inefficient. AB 1331 by Rendon from, of all places, Maywood, California. He's the chair of the Natural Resources Committee, has $500 million in it to remove 4 perfectly functional, perfectly maintained dams on the Klamath River, supplying electricity to over 70,000 customers. These are the things that perhaps we can change. Perhaps, maybe not. Some of them maybe we can't change, but a lot of them we can. And also, in Siskiyou County, there are 4 industries on this planet from which every single product emanates. Those are mining, farming, timber and wood products, and oil. Every product on earth comes from one of those industries. We used to have 3 of those industries in Siskiyou County. Now we have 1, and that industry, farming, is under such economic pressure from regulatory agencies it may not survive without direct intervention. So anyway, now is the time for all good men to come to the aid of their country. And I thank you very much, and I ask for your vote today. Thank you.
Tom Pease will be next.
Good morning, Board. I find it very distressing. I came here to...
Name first.
Oh, Dr. Richard Garrett, living down on the Klamath River on historical Woodrat Bar. Anyhow, I moved up here to go ahead and semi-retire, enjoy the fishing, enjoy the mining. And here we are under regulatory attack from not only the federal government, but the state government. And the most atrocious and egregious violation is the California state government itself. The entire Coho Recovery Plan as an instance. Number one, the North Coast Water Board. They want to increase the water quality of the Klamath River Basin. However, in 1981, that river was designated Wild and Scenic Rivers Act. And under that federal act, the water only has to meet the standards as the date of designation. That's number one. Number two, Coho Recovery Plan. Coho Recovery Plan falls under the Department of Commerce of the United States under the National Marine Fisheries Service. And even if it were listed as endangered, which it is not under federal ESA, the only action would be water and substrate only, not 1 inch of riparian lands, not 1 inch of water quality or anything else. This is such an egregious violation, and the state of California is not doing a darn thing to assist us. Instead, they are implementing programs far in excess of what the federal regulations demand. We, as a county, and hopefully other counties with us, can join in seeing if we can make a statement to our state government, which is not exercising the state rights under the Constitution, and let's get back on track. Thank you.
Mr. Marshall will be next.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Supervisors. You've seen me here before a number of times, and I'm here again. But I'd like to change this just a little. Thomas D. Pease, Scott Valley, or Fort Jones. Change this up a little bit. I was born in Wheaton, 1947. That makes me probably a minority in this room. Okay? I've been here, I've done it. People that were around, when I was around in Siskiyou County, this was absolutely paradise. There was no place better in this world to live. Pick a town, they were all wonderful. We had booming industries, we had, nobody was really filthy rich. A lot of people lived in company towns, we had wonderful schools. We had all this going for us, we mind our own business, people left us alone. We were great. My folks bought a ranch over in Quartz Valley in 74 or 74, and that's where my dad's dream was, because he was a Marble Mountain guy. He loved the Marble Mountains. My whole point is that that's where we were. I'm a realist. We're not going to be there. We don't need that. We've all argued about the fish and the water quality and this and that and everything else. There's one thing that we are. Okay? We are an island controlled by a foreign government. The state of California has absolutely no respect for us. God bless the representatives, Board of Supervisors, the city councils, these sort of things. God bless these people for sacrificing. I don't know why they do, to be honest with you. Because you're hamstrung to start with. You do the best you can with a bad product. The federal government's moved in here, and look what they do. The federal government, everybody says you can't do anything about the federal government. Hell, you can't. Only the reason, probably, and I don't know this for sure, but probably at least 30 or 40% of what the federal government, specifically the Forest Service, does to the state of California is allowed to by the state of California. They do not have authority, congressional authority, to do most of the things they do. We saw that with the Department of Fish and Game in the state of California. A law is written, and then you have department heads that implement that law. That can be a way different thing than the law is. The state of California, the Department of Fish and Game, they had regulations. And guess what? They got sued. I don't know where that's going to end up, but the whole point is there's legislative review. They don't go to legislative review. I'm just picking on them as an example. It's the same thing with the federal government. We are an island run by a dictatorship. Okay, and we need to go out on our own. Win, lose, or draw. A lot of us in this room won't live to see all this happen. But win, lose, or draw, we need the opportunity to do this. Thank you for your time.
moving parts I have, so anyone, I want everyone to have that opportunity, so.
Chairman Valenzuela and members of the Board of Supervisors, my name is Richard Marshall. I'm a rancher in Scott Valley in Fort Jones. And I want to also encourage you today to take the historic step of making a representation that Siskiyou County wants to stand free once again from the yoke of the state of California and the pressures it puts on all of you and all of us here. I too remember Siskiyou County and back in the 50s and 60s when we had industries everywhere that were benefiting the citizens, which are no longer there because of this overactive state and federal agencies that we have. And I would point out issues such as the road closures that we're faced with by the Forest Service, the issues of the water agencies controlling our water futures and our water resources, which affect our ranchers and farmers. And I would point out that you're not alone in this issue of rural communities having to fight for representation, because what's happened here in this country, happening to us, has happening to other counties. Rural counties throughout the country are beginning to wake up and shake off these chains that have been put on them by regulatory authority. And especially overzealous, as we know we have some rogue members of the bureaucracy that have stepped outside their bounds in setting forth issues that have affected our people. So I would encourage you to move forward. We have 11 counties alone in Colorado who are doing the same thing right now. And we have counties in California in the rural counties group, which I'm sure would also join us. So if you give us the opportunity to move forward with this resolution, you will be rewarded because we'll come back with the goods. Thank you.
Elizabeth Bradley, and then Mr. Scott.
Hello, I'm Elizabeth Bradley. Oh, you already have that. Okay. So I just wanted to say that I am proud to be what I hope to be part of a historical day in the state of Jefferson. I have always believed that Siskiyou was the beating heart of this movement, and I want to thank you guys for allowing us the opportunity to possibly pursue this and turn this state of ideas into a state of ideals. I hope today you can emerge as leaders and vote for a better future. I believe that we have great minds among us who can lead us into that future. I would like to take this opportunity to invite you all to something that we have been planning. This is to allow the peaceful assembly of everyone, and this is to find our leaders in other counties, not just Siskiyou. It's September 20th. It's at the Wairika Community Center. It's at 6:30. I have a flyer. I'll leave it right here. I have to go. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak.
Tom Smith?
Sean Smith, small business owner. I'm from Dolores, California. And like a lot of these folks, I came from somewhere else when I was a lot younger. To Siskiyou County. My father brought us here from Central Valley of California because I guess he saw what we're all realizing now. The disintegration of some of those larger populations in rural America's appeal to us. That's why we moved here, why most of us have. And those folks that were lucky enough and fortunate enough to grow up here, they realize those things. From, like the fellow mentioned, farming, the agricultural side, timber, all those things were here back then, disappeared on us in the 80s. And we all see what's taking place. We're just now learning how to fight that back by joining our local governments, asking for change, getting personally involved, and that's why we're here today. I guess from the timber side of it, it has disappeared, but I'd like to say there's some of us out there looking for new ways to do that. There's a new way to do some of these things. Open-minded people can further that cause, and the State of Jefferson would give us a new venue to do that. Maybe some of those restrictions are needed and we're not seeing that, but with active and involvement from the community and politicians alike, fair committees and open-minded individuals, I think we can further this state, the state of Jefferson, I mean not the state of California or Oregon. And we can develop those revenues needed for a tax base and to further our causes, infrastructure building. I think we're comparable to anyone else in the union. We've got those assets here, and we're asking you, as our elected leaders, to push this forward. It's that time. Be the people we're looking for, those heroes we're waiting for, to open that door, and we'll make you even more proud of us than you are right now. We can do that. In the name of all these people, we're asking. I was asked to ask a question about a show of hands. How many people in this room would actually individually support the state of Jefferson? That's where we're at. And we appreciate your time and your effort. Thank you.
My name is Gabe Garrison from Advocacy, California, and I've been a resident here for 8 years. I really like Siskiyou County. I appreciate it. There's opportunities, but they seem to be dying on all fronts. It's a sad thing to see, and this is just in the past 8 years I've been here. My major concerns are the constant assault on our constitutional rights by those in the state Senate. Many proposed laws are unconstitutional and are a direct violation of our God-given rights. Not only our Second Amendment, which if we lose that, we lose them all, but on everything. This also creates serious issues for our local law enforcement officers, as they may be expected to enforce unconstitutional rights or unconstitutional laws. And many will take a stand and not do that, and that's appreciated. We need our own state so we can adopt laws that fit our way of life and our want and love for our God-given rights and freedoms. I ask for the board's support to help right these wrongs that have been made in the creation of the state of Jefferson. So I'd like to thank you for your time.
That's all the blue cards. Anyone else?
Because it's crowded, can we speak from here?
No. You got to come up and speak before the microphone, and we'll take the time if you want to come and speak. I'm not going to circumvent the rules and regulations to accommodate that. I want you to come up and speak if you want. Anyone else? Because I'm allotting all the time we need to do that. And you can just fill it out afterwards. You can do that afterwards. Okay, have your second, please. You have to state your name for the record.
Again, Chuck Knight. And I just been sitting here thinking, like a long time ago somebody said, give me life or give me death, or liberty or death. Give us either the high-speed rail and the water tunnel, or give us a new state.
My name's Chris Hard, and I live in Edgewood, and my comment is very brief. Recently, my husband and I have been looking into buying a piece of real estate, and of course we looked into foreclosures, and I have to tell you that the number of foreclosures in this county is absolutely alarming, and I'm sure you're aware of that, but it's another indicator of how things have to change. Thank you.
Anyone? How about any of our students who want to speak to this matter? You have to fill out a blue card, but you can do that afterwards, please. You want to state your name for the record?
My name is Nelson Harding. I'm a 3-year resident of Siskiyou County. I'm not a long-time resident of Siskiyou County, but I am a 5th generation Northern Californian. And I feel, as a Northern Californian, California is a very diverse state. And because of the size and the diversity, the state government has become ineffective. And the rural counties, in particularly Northern California, we don't have representation. And that could possibly be changed through this motion. And I would ask, as a fifth-generation Californian, that you would consider the motion and allow us to become a separate state. Because we have lost representation and the state government has become somewhat dysfunctional because it's trying to do everything for everybody. And the state is just too diverse to do that. So, thank you.
If you can fill out one of those blue cards for our record, I appreciate that. Okay, here we go. Come on up.
My name is Kayla Brown, and I'm actually not a citizen of Siskiyou County. I'm from Shasta County. I came up here simply for the vote today to tell you that other counties do support this. And as a resident, a longtime resident of Northern California, I was born and raised here 23 years ago, and I found out about the State of Jefferson when I was 10 years old. So I've been waiting for somebody to pick up the reins on this and to actually do something with it, because as a wife and a mother now, the state of California is not somewhere I want to raise my 7-month-old son. It is not somewhere that I want to send my kid to school. I don't want him to grow up in the state of California because I don't feel the state of California has the same ideals as the people of the state of Jefferson. So the state of Jefferson is the place that I want to raise my son. I want to live here because this is where I grew up. This is the place where small town people understand what it's like to live off of the land, to be in rural communities, because we don't have the same issues as the bigger cities. We don't have gang problems up here, not to the extent that the cities do. We don't need huge rails. We don't need underground waterways. We don't have the same problems as LA and San Francisco and Sacramento. We are small town people. And I really feel as if the state of Jefferson would be able to continue furthering the lifestyle that we grew up with up here and the lifestyle that we want for our future generations. Because the problem is if we don't have the state of Jefferson now, I don't think that we ever will. And unfortunately, the younger people in the state of California are going to have to go somewhere else to find it. And I don't want to. I want to stay right here with the state of Jefferson. Thank you.
Make sure you fill
Gotta fill out his card.
Yeah, it's nice to see a young person with his values.
My name is Lon Curry, and I'm the chairman of the Jefferson Committee for Shasta County.
All right.
If you'll allow me, I'd like to read something. These are words from the best president we ever had. That would be Abraham Lincoln. You cannot bring about prosperity by discouraging thrift. You cannot strengthen the weak by weakening the strong. You cannot help strong men by tearing down big men. You cannot help the wage earner by pulling down the wage payer. You cannot further the brotherhood of man by encouraging class hatred. You cannot help the poor by destroying the rich. You cannot establish sound security on borrowed money. You cannot keep out of trouble by spending more than you earn. You cannot build character and courage by taking away man's initiative and independence. You cannot help men permanently by doing for them that which they should and could do for themselves. Thank you.
So by now, I've asked more than once, anyone wants to speak, this is the last chance because I'm going to bring it back to the board. Anyone else? Anyone? No, I don't. Come on up.
Thank you. Why don't you wait a while?
Thank you, board. Name? I'm Tom Moeller from Red Bluff, California, Tama County. And there's several of us. We were up here the last time this came to the board. And we're in support of Jefferson, the state of Jefferson. It would be the only way that I can see any kind of coming together in a positive manner. Everything going forward from here, it looks like a destruction in some manner or another, and I just hope we can do it before it gets out of hand in that way. And I think we can. We've already started in Tama County with a committee to get this going down there, and we hope to join you. Thank you.
Going once. Going twice. Come on, someone wants to speak.
Bone Brown.
I want the representative from Law Malfa's office.
I was looking for a comment in here.
I should.
I'll just risk it.
Get the card since I'm not good with rules. My name is Erin Ryan, and I was actually texting Doug to see if he wanted to put a comment on. But he must be doing something because he hasn't written back yet, but when he does, I'll let you know. I do know that when we were with the Senate, I used to ask them after they passed these crazy bills, I said, well, what do they talk about down there when they go to, like, the bathroom bill, you know? Do people actually get up and promote it? Is this something they're proud of? And they said, you know, every time we have one of those bills, there's always this gathering, you know, in the hallway, and people talk about, oh, wouldn't it be great if we could be the state of Jefferson, we could get away from all this. I said, really? You know, and I said, lots of representatives at the state level were eager to see some kind of change, just because they were always outgunned, and the urban issues really never relate to us. We always have this big divide. So anyway, I don't think you'll have any opposition from any of your representatives, but I would let them all speak for themselves. For my part and our staff's part, we're in.
Hello, everybody. Thank you all for coming here. It's so important that we're here. My name is Ann Walnut, and I moved here in 1964 when I was 10 years old, and there was a little Air Force base out in Montague Air Force Base of all things. My father was Air Force, and the first place I lived in was the Wairika Inn, the historic Wairika Inn. And if you don't think that was a hoot for a 10-year-old, let me tell you. But anyway, I learned to swim in Ringy Pool, and I learned to do everything I know how to do here in Siskiyou County. And I remember when they started designating wildernesses and things like that, I thought, why designate a wilderness? I mean, it's there. It's there. We can just go there. And it was because these places were special, and even if somebody couldn't go there, they needed to know that they were there because they were special, they were pristine, they were rather unsullied and slow and natural. Something that we find that our lives aren't very much. When we get busy, it seems so unnatural. But nonetheless, I kind of feel like Siskiyou County's always been that way. Like, I see how affected, because I was so affected I could never get away from here. I made it to Reading in the south, and I made it to Medford in the north. And I mean, I had been to France and Michigan and all kinds of exotic places like Texas and Florida. You know, the thing about Siskiyou County that really affected me was the decency of most of the people that I met here, and you could just tell it. And we have our share of problems. We're normal, we're affected. I mean, we have places that affect us around us, but we can we can make it through those, but it's that sense of decency that I'm so afraid that we might lose as Americans. And I know that there are little towns all over America that are feeling this way, and so I implore you to be on board with all of us, because I think there's a lot of dedication out there. We just need to tap it. Thank you.
Scott Murphy, local rancher in Etna, California. And I also serve on many boards, Cattlemen's Association here in Siskiyou County Farm Bureau, and the president of RCD. And I go to a lot of meetings dealing with water mainly. And this last week I was on a conference call and had several people from DWR on that conference call. And it was quite apparent to me that the people in Sacramento do not know what's going on up here. They simply thought that it would be so simple for us to go ahead and put some piping in, turn our pumps around, and put the water back into the river, which we didn't take it out of the river anyway. And then I was on a phone call later on and with a gentleman, and I said, his wife came up with a great quote. She says, "Everybody's talking about the farmers and ranchers dewatering the river." She says, "I want to know who de-snowed our mountains." In that conference call, we had tribes involved and everything, and I supported I proposed the initiative to go ahead and work on our upland vegetation, get that snow back down to the ground where you have kind of a glacial effect. Your snow runoff doesn't happen so quickly. I was also on a local task force for NRCS recently, and which I was one of 2 ranchers there. Everybody else was agency, and I told them, I said, I'm going to take off all the hats I have and just have on my rancher hat right now, and I'm going to tell you that we need to start working on this upland vegetation. And every one of them except for one person, I won't name his name, shook their head yes. These are all agency people. And they were like, yeah, let's do it. There was CDF and Forest Service, Fish and Game, they were all there. The problem is our local people here, yeah, they'd like to see all this happen, but their hands are tied. As Tom said, they're hamstrung already by the people outside of this area. We need to get the, I don't know what you want to call it, but the instructions coming from within on what we can do. And I don't know how you're going to go ahead and get over the hurdles of the financial end of it. Where there's a will, there's a way. Thank you.
Got all afternoon. Who wants to speak? Sold. Back to the board. Before we go there, Wendy, you doing okay? You did? Okay. Who'd like to start? Supervisor Armstrong.
Yeah, for me it comes down to 5 R's, and that's regulation. We have way too much of it. I saw a sign that said, you know, caution, we haven't heard today what the state says we can or cannot do. Restrictions on rights. We're seeing our Second Amendment challenged in ways that is inconceivable to me. Representation. We have too large of a state and too diverse, as the gentleman said. But we also have this enormous bureaucracy of unelected officials that are making decisions and regulating us. Regionalism is another thing. We have this creeping regionalism where, which I'm very concerned about. We see the North Coast Integrated Regional Water Management Plan, where they're using the California Water Plan to come down with model ordinances that all the counties are supposed to adopt, you know, and they're just taking zoning and land planning away from the local government. And then the last is restoration of limited government. And someone asked me on the when I spoke on the Armstrong and Getty show, they said, aren't you afraid of the fact that your people will have, if they're self-governing, they're going to have to step up to the plate and they're going to have to serve on all of these local boards? Well, I'll tell you, we do have a problem with having people step up and serve on local boards. So keep that in mind next time you see an ad for that. But I am so much in favor of this. We've been doing the same thing over and over, and it has not worked. We have not seen a change. It just is getting worse and worse and worse. And it's time to make a change to split the sheets.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have some prepared comments here. I've determined that the following question serves as the premise for how I'll vote today. How would it be different to run a county government and serve its citizens if indeed the state of California was divided into different states, including the state of Jefferson? The sole reason the Klamath River dams have not been relicensed is because the state of California will not issue a 401 permit required under the Clean Water Act for dam relicensing. The state bureaucracy and our past two governors, who I might add have never visited Siskiyou County, have decided that these dams don't meet 401 standards. The facts of the matter are they do. They act as settling ponds, improving water downriver, and provide stable river flows for migrating fish. This nonsense has increased local electric bills, and our own state government is so out of touch with reality that they actually think it will be easy to find $250 million plus of taxpayer dollars to remove sound hydropower dams. I'm confident that if the state of Jefferson existed, that 401 permit would have been granted, resulting in the relicensing of the Klamath River dams. I'm confident my fellow board members and county staff would have appreciated such a result. We have spent a great deal of money and time in a Herculean effort to protect property rights, including Pacific Core and Copco Lake property owners down the line. In an effort to protect downriver communities from flooding and the strong economic base needed financially for this county, all because Sacramento, mainly the bureaucracies, holds the 401 permit hostage. And oh, by the way, Sacramento has already made it clear they will grant a 401 permit for the flushing of 20 million cubic yards of sediment down the river for dam removal, showing true hypocrisy. Once the dam's positive effects of acting as settling ponds are lost, the water regulations will become more stringent for upriver agriculture, including the Tule Lake Basin. California, back in 2004, in a letter to the Federal Energy Relicensing Committee, that's FERC, already stated that agriculture caused phosphorus in Klamath Lake. The fact of the matter is that the phosphorus is naturally occurring from the upper basin. Agriculture didn't cause Mount Mazama to blow up and put phosphorus in the Klamath Lake area. It's naturally occurring. Look at the money and time we've spent dealing with the state's new in-stream study flows for the Scott and Shasta rivers. These are just the beginning stages of a long process where they're knocking on a door saying, "Hi, I'm from the government, I'm here to help you." Look at how much money and time the Farm Bureau had to spend to block the Fish and Game from reinterpreting existing rules. In case the Farm Bureau, one. Now the California Fish and Wildlife Service is spending our taxpayer money to appeal this decision, forcing the Farm Bureau to go back to court. Imagine how they could have spent that money. Tens of thousands of dollars. Given it to COS for an agriculture program we could have had in this county. This isn't, and then we look at item 8B, the Air Pollution Control District letter, where the state of California wants to impose strict truck emission standards on Siskiyou County, where we already have some of the best air. So this isn't just about natural resources. The state is making us jump backwards through hoops over foolish regulations, holding our rural county economies down, while California also refuses to pay its taxes for land the state bought and removed from the local tax base. To answer the question I'm basing this vote on, I think it would be great for future supervisors and county staff to run the county to serve the people not spending multitudes of time fighting our own state government so our environment, economy, citizens, and families can succeed. I just wanted to add here, Mr. Chairman, they're the Siskiyou County Museum there on Main Street. They have the history of the first State of Jefferson attempt to secede. And for the high school kids, real quick, it was a high school kid that wrote the name for the State of Jefferson. The Board of Supervisors came up with $100 back in 1941 for anybody that can name the state, and I think it was a Wairika High School student that came up with the name. We're not going to offer that now. But it was a high school kid that came up with a name. We already got our state. Maybe a motto, or we got a motto, maybe a state bird or whatever. State flag. But, no, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Can we take this board with us to Reading?
This is one of the hardest decisions that has to come before this board in a long, long time, and for me as well. I am a planner, and I like to know how things are going to turn out. I want to make sure that everybody has everything in line, everybody knows what they're supposed to do, where they're supposed to go, how things are supposed to be structured. So I've agonized about how this is all laid out. I've talked to people about their feelings about this. It's very interesting to talk to different people, young and old, and most people think this is a wonderful idea. We've taken care of Siskiyou County the best we can, and we've done a really good job, or else people wouldn't want to come here to take over what we have. And the more regulations and the more things that are developed to help us are hindering our economy in major ways. And if we can establish and have this a major state in the United States, it would be really, really wonderful. We need to have people in our different levels of government that listen to us and are willing to come and see why we are so passionate about our land and how we take care of it and what we do. And this board has invited more people than you can imagine to come and take a tour with us and talk to our people. And we haven't had very many takers. It's really, really difficult to be in a position of trying to take care of all of the people in Siskiyou County and not have the support that we need in our legislative bodies. And this is going to be a tremendous amount of work. We are going to need everybody to work on it. We're going to have to figure out so many things, and how we're going to take care of ourselves is a major, major factor. And the cost of taking care of each other, as you all well know, when someone has a problem here, we do take care of each other. And this is going to be a huge endeavor to take care of the people that we have and make sure that everyone has a good education, make sure that everybody has the tools that they need to grow their crops, make sure that we have funding to do the things that we need to do. So I've just agonized about this, and it's really, really difficult. And I'm hoping that we have the determination and everybody doesn't just go home and expect someone else to do it. And that's not what we need. We need everybody working together to develop this throughout the Northern California and Southern Oregon areas. So I'm very encouraged with everybody that came today. I hope that we have that determination to move this forward. So, thank you.
I think this issue is one that is rare in the sense that a lot of times when something comes before the Board of Supervisors, you get the pro and the con, you get the support and the opposed. I haven't had one contact with regard to this issue in opposition, and that's full spectrum. It doesn't matter which party, it's across the board. And you look at that and you're going, people are just so thoroughly disgusted with the way government is representing what it calls the people anymore. It's only representing itself, and much to our detriment. And I think that the statement in what we're proposing today is sending a message loud and clear. We've been trying to comply. We've been trying to do as what's been put down before us by the state legislature. But for me anymore, and I call it the asylum, because and I'll use the bathroom bill. You look at that and you go, are these guys nuts down there? What are they thinking? What are they thinking when they're going to expose our children and grandchildren to something that's foreign to the rest of us? That none of them would even participate in, I'm sure. But yet, something like that can come through, and they tout it as legislation. Come on. That's not even fair. It's not fair to working families. And yes, Siskiyou County was a place once where we were, if you want to call it, self-sufficient. We were. And Mr. Pease said it. We didn't get rich, but at least families were able to make a living, and they were able to put their kids through college, and everybody was content. But now that is threatened, because each year, each day, each minute anymore, I guess it seems, there's a new regulation that talks about something that we can't do. Earlier today, I was running late. I'm going to digress here a little bit, and I hope you'll get the point. I was due here at 9 o'clock. At 10 after 8, my daughter-in-law called and her car wouldn't start, the battery was dead. And I'm in my tie and shirt, and I'm going, oh great. I'm going over to help her out. Well, my granddaughter, who just started kindergarten this year, had to get to school by 8:30. I happened to get her the car started, but told her she had 2 other little ones to take care of, and I said, I'll take Kaylee to school because you won't make it in time. I got to school, snuck in the back door, but I crossed the street, not in the crosswalk. And my granddaughter told me, she said, Papa, you can't do that. And I said, honey, hey, Papa will take the brunt of whatever comes. We've got to get you into class. I got her into class on time. I came out of the building, and as I started to cross the street to get to my car, the crosswalk police stopped. You laugh. It made me mad. I understand that there's safety, and I respect that. But what I didn't appreciate was I was already under the gun. I got her there on time, and yet I was told, point blank, you were to use the crosswalk, sir. You're not to just cross the street. And I said, look, I was late, whatever, right? Didn't matter. He said, there are no exceptions.
Were there any cars coming?
No. And I told him, I said, come on, guy, there's an exception to everything. But what I'm trying to communicate here is that we're getting to be a society of where there it is, and you better not cross the line. And I went away from that thinking, for crying out loud, with drugs in our schools, and we're worried about a crosswalk. And I'm not going to take away from the safety, because I know that is appreciable. I get that. But then there should not also be any drugs in our schools. There should be no alcohol in our schools that we're fighting, because we're all paying for that. And so, I'm sorry I digressed a bit, but that irked me this morning, and I didn't even need a coffee to, get me irked. That did it for me. So, I'm appreciative of this resolution. I think, I think what really got us into this boat was, I think it was in 1960, or Brandon's going to help me out, the Warren decision on one man, one vote, when Senate representation was taken away from what I'll call territory. Because if you had 58 senators, 31 of which would be from rural counties in the state legislature, we wouldn't even be talking about this today. Because when we had state representation as a senator, they pulled a lot of clout, and that's the only thing that would get us back on track, short of this. So, yes, it's a leap, but I think the last meeting we said, I don't want to wait 40 years. We were already waiting 70, and we talk about it a lot. But I think even what Supervisor Bennett said, with regard to it's not over once we get a yay vote on this. It's going to take everybody to be a united front to take this forward. And of course, we're going to have to be respectful at the same time. Does it mean that we can't can't voice our opinion? But we're going to have to carry the flag of integrity that goes with it. So I support this, and I'm appreciative of all of you that have turned out today, because I know that it's taken you outside of your normal routine. One other thing I guess I will add is that I don't think it's by accident that when our founders created the Constitution, that they knew the condition of the human spirit. And I think that by putting representation in the way that they did, they knew what could end up future. And here it comes home to roost. And I think that they did the best they could. But the human condition takes us in places that we shouldn't go. So, thank you.
Okay, so it's my turn, and I think like Supervisor Bennett, I toyed with this, I thought about it for a while. I looked back in history in the state of Jefferson. I mean, I like historical perspectives. I like the reasons why. Someone mentioned the word minority. And in my Valenzuela, that's a minority. I've been a minority all my life. I've been here, I've been on the short end of the Florida vote too many times. I know what it's like to be on the minority. I understand, I think on the last meeting that we had, I understand the frustrations that we all are feeling. Certainly this board feels it when we're dealing with the state of California or the federal government, or all those things. We don't get away from that if we try to change our world, we create this little island. People are still going to want to come here, probably with the same values that we all have. I was very fortunate that I had a job. I was able to do that. I was able to travel here. Some of you are, Mr. Baird, you're independent. You don't do, I mean, when I hear what you do and you own a radio station, I see positive there. I've been to Butte Valley and I've seen the positive of what's going on out there. So as much as I hear the negative side, I also hear the positive side. Someone said, how many people are for this? How many people are from Mount Shasta? Last night when I did my walk, I asked the one gentleman, I said, are you for that? He's not for it. I've had one call that said, and they weren't for it. And ultimately, I'm not going to be for this. And it comes down to because I took an oath. I took an oath when I ran for re-election, which I just did, and that was to uphold the Constitution and uphold the Constitution of the state of California. And within that, because having come from knowing what it's like to be a minority, I know the value of having to work from the other side without the numbers and without support. I signed on to do that. I signed on to work within the system that I know. I don't like it. I don't, agree with it all the time. By the same token, I did sign on for that, and I'll continue to do so. So for those reasons, I cannot support what I truly understand what you folks are trying to do and trying to accomplish. I truly wish I could go back to 41 when the state of Jefferson woulda, shoulda, coulda, except for the fact that World War II happened. That would have happened. That would have brought it about for sure.
You're not standing for the Constitution.
Read section.
If you don't mind, everyone had their chance. This is just my chance. Again, I'm just clarifying where I'm coming from, why I'm not going to be signing on for this. I appreciate everyone's where you're all coming from. I appreciate where my board members are and where they're going to go. As a matter of course, board chair normally signs these kind of things. In this particular instance, I will have Vice Chair Copsec sign for that, because I feel strongly enough again, for my reasons, that this is not the way I would prefer to go. Supervisor Robinson? Supervisor Robinson is going to make a motion.
I move to approve the declaration and authorize the vice chair to sign, and to request that our state assemblyman and state senator read the declaration into their respective legislative record on behalf of Siskiyou County.
Second? All in favor?
Aye. Why don't we have a roll call? Shall we
Okay,
do a roll call?
yeah.
Sure, we'll do a roll call.
Let's see, Supervisor Copsett.
Aye.
Supervisor Armstrong. Aye. Supervisor Chris.
Aye.
Supervisor Bennett. Aye. And Chairman Valenzuela.
No. There you go, 4-1.
Thank you.
So we're going to take a break.
So before you break through the chair, Mr. Baird, since this came through you, I'll kind of address you, but you know Puerto Rico is trying to be the 51st state, and as early as I think May of this year, that it's getting close to where they have, I think it's HR 2000 that they're trying to push through. Yeah, and I don't know if there's any correlation or parallels to that we can bring to this dialogue or not, but yeah. Because I know that they also looked at a territory, and they looked at statehood, and the statehood is the one that...
Statehood is the only way that things will significantly change, because that's the only way in which we have federally recognized representation and a true change in state representation. Northern Colorado is doing the same thing. They want to be the 51st, and apparently some counties in Maryland are a little tired of it, and they want to be the 51st. We're in for the race. I've said before, this isn't a sure thing. I think we can do it if we learn how to speak to the people who need to let us go. And if I didn't believe it was possible, I wouldn't be here wasting everybody's time.
Well, and I
This
think
is possible.
I appreciate that, it doesn't matter to me if it has to be 51st, it could be 55th, I don't care.
Right.
So, the other thing is that the only other concern that I guess I've had at least brought to my attention is the finances of how the county would be able to
One of
survive.
the supervisors in Shasta County brought up a very good point. He said by necessity, there would be a lull in funding between the transitional governments of the state of California when the committees of reconciliation separate the stuff, as it were, and then apportion debt and so on. And our thought is that we could petition Congress for bridge funding in order to minimize that lull in funding in the transition period. And I think if we can successfully gain their vote, I don't see why we couldn't gain a loan to get through that gap. But these reconciliation committees would be very important. There would be gaps in funding. Personally, I can live with potholes if I was free. I could live with a great many things if I was free. And that's not to say those things aren't important, but I believe there are ways around that through the transition process.
Well, and I guess I will just finish with that the financial thing has been something of concern to me, but I guess the bigger concern is I don't know how anybody in this room will be able to exist financially under the current structure that we're going through. And I think that on the other side gives the ability to at least determine our own destiny versus going bankrupt. Because that's where the regulations are taking everybody.
As a small business owner myself, as Supervisor Valenzuela pointed out, I'm here to testify the morass of unimaginable confusion that presents itself to us every single day is absolutely without measure. And for us to stay in business, something has to change, because quite frankly, we're getting to the point where we don't want the money that bad. And I think there are a lot of business people here that are in the same boat. And that we have to change, or we're all going to be broke and we're all going to be gone. Thank you.
You know, we look at the economics right now. Siskiyou County is ranked 170th in economies amongst all foreign nations. And that's where we are, 170th. So I mean, we're better than a lot of foreign nations, and we're not asking for wealth, as Mr. Pease said. We're asking to make a living. Imagine the entrepreneurial spirit that could be uplifted in this county, in the state of Jefferson. And I just look at this as county supervisor for our own staff time. Our staff spends an incredible amount of time just dealing with regulations from the state of California, sending letters, negotiating all those things. We would unleash that potential on the micro scale from staff. And if you look at the entrepreneurial spirit from this county, it would unleash it, and we'd be rising up the ranks.
I completely agree. Thank you.
That's all I'm saying. Public comment's closed, but if you want to say something real quick.
Yeah, just a few things, very quickly. When they signed the Declaration of Independence, there was 13 colonies that were rebelling against the mother country. Those 13 colonies, unlike the colonies or the counties in Northern California, they didn't get along. They didn't like each other, they didn't trust each other, they were very culturally different, the South from the North, etc. But because the burden was so great with the mother country, they went ahead, and they didn't have a plan at that point. I agree, we want to plan as fast as we go, but these guys are jumping in the deep water. And our founders, Washington, Hamilton, Franklin, they weren't doing it because their bellies were empty. The Russians revolted against the Tsar because they were hungry. The French against the king because they were hungry. The Chinese against their emperor because they were hungry. These guys are doing it on a basis of ideals. And that's what we're doing it on here, and the fear that someday we might be hungry. But as a point of just a minor correction, sir, when you rebel, you're doing it outside the system. We're doing this within the system. State law allows us to do what we're doing. So I believe we are playing it by the system.
And I don't disagree with you, that's fine. Again, I stated why for my own reasons, why I want to stay within this. So with that, we're going to take a break. Thank you all for coming. I hope everyone had an opportunity to speak.